Speaking of Omah Lay, you mentioned he has a new album out.
Boy Alone, that's my
Um,
cheese.
I've listened to it a bit. Of course, there are a couple tracks on
Yeah,
there
I've listened to it a lot.
that have been out for a while. So I guess you have the floor. What are your thoughts on Omah Lay's album?
What are my thoughts on Omah Lay's album? I think it's very chef kiss. I love it. I love how he blends angst, soulfulness, transparency, and it still makes it very Afropop. And I think that that's
What?
not.
That album was not Afropop.
It definitely still had Afropop elements. I'm not listening
But
to
it was not Afropop. That was not an Afropop album.
So it was a what?
That was an R&B album.
No, Afropop R&B.
No, that was an R&B album.
Afropop, comma,
It's fine
R&B.
that is no.
Djaji, you've listened to his album more times than I have.
listened to that album. That's
So is what?
That's an
Recognize his words.
Yeah,
How to love
is
that.
more like R&B with a sprinkle of Afropop. The dominant sound on that is R&B, not Afropop.
There's literally two layers. He has the percussions, and then he has the synth, and then he has like all of the other elements that you say make it R&B and all of that. The two literally coexist side by side. You can't say it is dominantly an R&B album. It is not.
It is. He leaned more into R&B in this album.
It is a really good blend of the two.
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay, moving on.
Not in like, he didn't blend it well, but it's more R&B.
Moving on, I do not agree with Djaji, but I'm not going to. I've listened to that album too much too. Like, nah. Anyway, so like, I like how we really blended all those elements together. And it is also, in a sense, a novel thing because where we are now, everybody's gunning for the top. Everybody's gunning to, be the huge chart breaker, be the number one person and everything. And then, in a sense, you can see, it feels like, because of where we are now, it seems like some artists may tend to really dig deep into the Afropop bag, but I think it was really brave of him to present that side, especially because Omah Lay, when he first came out, he actually was it was a status quo breaker because his album, his first EP, his debut EP, Get Laid, had like it had difference to it. The BPM was different, it was slower, it was very transparent, in the likes of which it was not very common. And even till now, that transparency and even like how it sounds generally is not like the status quo. So it just shows that he's staying true to himself and is also still able to like bring up a lot of freshness to it.
What do I think of the album?
I think
it's
very
brave of him to venture with an album that sounds as foreign as it does. I think that, of course, I'm being diplomatic. This is my diplomatic preamble.
No, I don't being diplomatic. I have more to say about the album.
But I think that Omah Lay, Rema, I've come to understand that they're no longer even maybe looking at the Nigerian market primarily anymore. I think that when I heard this album, I was like, this is a vibe album. My actual mean take of it is that it does sound a bit monotonous. But I feel like in the right environment, maybe an Afro Nation, maybe a Coachella, the true merit and beauty of the album comes out more. I think that it sounds he sounds crisp, he sounds clean, but I don't know if the themes are catchy enough for me to stay for and be compelled by the whole album. I think there are definitely some peaks, and I think that it's a well put together project, like sonically. Okay. But for me, from what I've heard so far, maybe I need to listen to it more, maybe in different environments. But right now, it sounds a bit monotonous.
Yeah.
And
I'm not agreeing, no. I'm just saying, okay.
And it's less abrasive Afropop, which I'm always here for. But he's definitely embraced that his R&B thing, and he's going full out with it.
So other than like the sonic cohesion, is also the thematic cohesion. I mean, it's titled Boy Alone, and when you hear Boy Alone, you just think solitude, and you just think of like, when you're alone, it's like 1,000,001 things that run through your mind. It's 1,000,001 feelings that happen to you.
You think his introspections are honest and thorough?
Yeah, there's highs and lows to it, and I mean, I did like a video where I was talking about how I prefer the new Omah Lay to the new Burna, and then somebody was telling me how for him he has a problem with Omah Lay's album because he had to use Genius to see the lyrics and get what he was saying. And I just think, how is that even like a minus? Me, I just think that's even like, oh yeah, you see the lyrics and then you get to even see the full depth of like what Omah Lay was saying, and you see like how he really pieced his words together and how he was talking about. I mean, on the album, Omah Lay Omah Lay goes from talking about like dealing with fame, anxiety, overthinking, love. It's just like a lot of things, like being depressed, feeling on your own, like a million and one feelings, fan love, things like that. Drinking alcohol to help with the heartbreak, help with the loneliness, with the addiction, what have you. And it's literally, I think it's literally like a basket of, like of being in your feelings. And the sound really ties really well into that. And when people say, because I've also seen someone say that it sounds, monotonous, I think that's a funny thing to say because as music lovers, we say we want a cohesive album.
You've said this before, but the argument with Monotony is not that, it should not be cohesive. The point with Monotony is that it should not just sound dynamism. And I think that's the key word here. That a song is cohesive or an album is cohesive doesn't mean it cannot be dynamic too. And when you say something is monotonous, there is no dynamism. And I think you would agree with me.
But
it was a mellow topic. It was a mellow vibe. Mm-hmm. He is mellow. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the songs were kind of in the same. So everything kind of, I don't necessarily feel like
But they were breakers from that. But it's in the end, which is why I'm saying that when we say we want a cohesive album and then we get it and then we say it's monotonous. Because in the end,
No.
When
we have
let me go back.
albums that are not monotonous.
Mind you, this is something, it's called Boy Alone. And through it is an extended metaphor.
Is Motion to Mo a cohesive album?
I cannot remember the layout of Motion to Mo, but I
Shana like this and bumper to bumper. Do they sound the same?
No, they don't. So on Monotony, it's the fact that I can't remember my points. I swear to God. Thank you so much, Djaji Prime, for making me forget my points.
Monotony and Cohesion are not the same thing. So I don't want you to feel like because an album is cohesive, it can't. Because an album is monotonous, it is cohesive. They are not the same thing.
Definitely, I do not think they are synonymous.
So why when you say, that we an album gives us cohesion and then we say it's monotonous? No, that can be cohesive and be dynamic.
You know what I'm trying to say? They are breakers, but I'm trying to tell you that at the same time, because it is a mellow, it has a mellow feel to it. Right from even the title, you hear the title, you see the cover art, you already know what you're expecting. You do not think Omah Lay is going to now go and say, okay, because I want to give them dynamism, let's package the mellow away and let's just bring
package
and bring back for this one song.
Kendrick's album
even
is
on the Amapiano song, How to Love, the mellow feel was still there, but it was Amapiano. Recognized is actually more Afropop than a couple other songs there, but it still has the mellow feel to it. So even has like really like up-tempo percussions, but it still has the mellow feel to it. So I don't get which part is
not monotonous, but to others it can be.
Yeah,
and I think it is funny. What I've explained with Monotony, is that it sounds flat. There is no.
But it definitely does not sound flat. Djaji, listen to the album again. It definitely doesn't sound flat.
I didn't say it sounds flat. I said it sounds. Well, I don't think it's flat, but it's monotonous to me. But yeah, shout out to Omah Lay. I'll listen to the album and probably take one or two tracks and live with them.
Or a couple.
That's one or two now.
More than a couple.
Anyhow.
A bunch.